Welcome everyone to the 261st weekly MLP Drawing School live critique stream. It's already March. Wow. March 2nd and it's like -12 out here, which is the same as everywhere else because nothing's outside my front door.
Oh yeah, I sure do love March 2nd, 2020.
Yep.
That's where we are. March 2nd, 2020.
Yeah, March 3rd.
Show off. Time traveler. As you can hear, we got a small horde of horse people with us today. Starting from the top. What? Oh, it's a herd. Yeah.
Winnie. Nay.
Yeah.
Nay, Winnie.
We got Alley Claw.
Hello. How is it going?
You know, there's a Fluffy's eye too.
Really? Oh, that's me.
There's a Len. That's
Apparently.
you, Len.
They're invisible.
They ran off. Got it. Probably making chocolate milk or something delicious like that. And there's Pixie Knob.
Hello, good morning. I am Pixie from Australia.
I forgot which button was my push to talk.
Oh no.
I just imagine her him hands across the keyboard. Yeah,
I was clicking a button. I was wondering why it wasn't working.
I will find you push to talk. Yeah. So let's do this.
Yeah.
Yeah, we got
it's good.
Lots of art today. Anyone who submitted them, are they actually listening live, or are we just doing this as a regular roundup?
It's always just been in our mind, with figurants of your imagination, and you can't prove otherwise.
I see M in the chat. I don't know if they're currently listening, but I see their username in the Picarto.
That's good enough for me.
Oh, there they are.
Because as you know, we have a bias towards anyone who's actually here. So embroidered. You were saying long arms, or the proportions between arms and legs and that, wondering if they're stretched out a little bit too long, a little bit too short, somewhere around that area. Do you have any other questions in particular? Oh yes, the layout of the reference sheet too. Is there a particular sort of like level of anthro you're going for here? Like at what point are you going for more animal-like versus more human-like? Because you got what appears to be an actual cat up on the top, but then more human-like proportions down towards the sides. Also, sorry for not doing the single picture last week. We made a note to do it, and I fumbled not ever uploading it onto the Peggy. Like a monster.
And once we finished, I was like, oh, I screwed up by not saying to do it. So we're doing it now.
No one printed it onto a piece of paper and lobbed it on or tied to a brick through my window.
Has it still not been posted?
We're doing it right now.
Also, question: how many colors are you planning on doing for this? Because you said you wanted to leave the top little element for color swatches. If there's quite a few colors, I would definitely try and declutter this and leave just a big strip down the side, basically, to do the colors. Just because it seems like you might get 3 or 4 good color circles up across the top, maybe 6 if you split them. Especially if you're being a kind person and labeling them fully.
if we're going off of human anatomy, the elbow would stop around here and the hand would go here. So I think the arms are still a bit too big.
And you just crunch the arms.
Mm-hmm.
Lots of crunching.
Ooh, that's a pretty nice color setup you got going there.
Yeah, whenever you're looking at like larger sets of proportions, like how long the arm is compared to everything else and all that sort of stuff, I always like just making like little marks and all that. So, for example, with this sort of like a pose, with the arm going back up a bit, I'm just doing it with my own arm next to my shoulder, and I notice, okay, the tips of the fingers end up like around about here for me, and my elbow ends up a little bit above sort of where my hips are, so maybe sort of around this kind of an area. And so if you're going for human length arms compared to like how long the body is, then you can use those sort of measurements as a bit of a guide to sort of base everything off.
Mm-hmm.
If you're doing it so that if they go on four paws, they look relatively possible, and I think that the length makes sense though.
Yeah, especially depending on whether they're going to be standing up most of the time or spending most of their time as a quadruped. It's going to change how long everything should be. But in general, I think it looks pretty good. With the design of everything, it's probably best to just look around at different character sheets and sort of see what you prefer, because character sheets come in all different shapes and sizes, and some just have some have, say, like a turn around of the character up here, and then different sort of breakdowns of elements like the face and the alternate forms and all that sort of stuff down here, and then colors along the side, colors and like little text aspects along the side or whatever. Just yeah, it's this is one of those things where it's a lot about what you need it for, and so it's probably good to just take a bit of a squiz around and see what formats other people whose sheets you like what sort of formats they're using.
Mm-hmm. And like something that I find helpful as an artist, and like when when you want to get a commission for somebody or you need to hand over a sheet, it's really good to write down information that is super important, something's a detail that could be missed. I know like Inky had to redo his reference sheet a few times because there was some elements that like artists kept missing. So to put text on like, hey, I want these markings to be in this order and go this direction, please be wary of that. Or like when drawing the claws out, make sure they're this length. There's no short length. Or whatever rules you have for this um sorta, it's good to add like a text reminder too. Because sometimes artists just see something like, yeah, okay, I'll run with that. But if there's like a specific thing, your eyelashes, I know you have very, very big, wonderful, fluttery eyelashes. Like if there's no other way you want them drawn, to like make note of that, or else people just think that's the style of the reference sheet.
Mm. Like with these eyelashes here, if I saw that, I'd probably assume that they are like whiskers or something like that.
Mm-hmm,
So it's like an aspect where like it might even be good to like include a little sort of breakdown of, you know, here is an eye, here's your eyelashes, and then be like, these are eyelashes.
mm-hmm.
Boosh, boosh. Because like the purpose of the reference sheet is just to be able to give it to an artist, and then for the artist to know how to draw your thing.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
And I know another thing artists always not always, but I've seen artists complain of like you have your species listed and stuff, and like sometimes you'll have like a generic it's always a joke that furries only know how to draw like dogs and foxes. So everything looks like a dog and a fox. But like stuff like that, like any sort of thing that can hint to the exact things you want, the more information there, the happier the artist will be and the happier you'll be. And that's only for commissioning, but like or even like art fight stuff if you want someone to draw certain things, certain elements. Like they like also stuff like this, I see like a little heart nose. Specify like, oh, I want it in the shape of a heart. It's just, stuff little nitpicky. But like was said earlier, perusal the reference sheets and take the best elements from the ones you like.
Absolutely. Whoa. Just like making any other art. You just sort of harvest a whole bunch of things from other artists and then you eventually get something nifty.
Mm-hmm.
So you got any further questions there? Or anything else you would like some more details on? Or maybe, just Allie's personal email so you can send a course a day just like I do.
Oh god.
All right. So we got one submitted by Act on Futility. Let me just post these. It's a horse. It's a horse.
Of course.
Okay. So no questions in particular. Anything that stands out. The way you've built the head and body seems to stick out a little bit to me. The main's nice and flowy. It's got all sorts of swirl going on there.
Oh, I like the
The
curl.
the way it's curled reminds me of something that Tim Burton would do. Like
Oh, like the scene with the curly hill.
yeah, that's the one. Yeah.
Is there any particular expression you were going for, Acton?
Also, anyone in particular you're pulling your sort of are thin legs like more horse proportion what you're going for, or are you going for more MLP proportions? Is there something somewhere in the middle, like other references you've drawn from to do this? From memory, okay.
Ooh. Well, then I might recommend get yourself some references. Like this is great, and I see you put a lot of effort here, but sometimes when we're tripping up on stuff, our memory doesn't have all the information, and when we get ourselves a reference, that is a huge aid. And every artist does it. No one does not use not a reference. Too many knots in there, but yeah, don't feel like you have to go from memory. If you really want to figure something out, references will have most likely a close enough answer to the situation you want to figure out, whether it be an expression or proportions or color or whatever. They got a lot of information, a lot of juicy information in them references.
Mm-hmm. Also, further question: wings. What do we do with them? Is it purposeful that they're gone, or was that just an oversight?
I do that all the time. I even have a Pegasus OC, and as much as I've drawn her, I still forget the wings. So you're not alone.
They're
Horns and
detachable.
wings always go missing.
So that brings us back to using references. They do help create a visual checklist of things on said character. Especially, just to have and to hold and to stare at. It's great. So, again, with Allie's suggestion, eat those references. Turn them into a fine slurry. Drink them down. They're good and nutritious.
They're so good. And if you have issues like how to even use references, I know there's a few resources out there. Even on our subreddit, MLP Drawing School, there's a link. Is there a link in the description?
Yeah,
Oh, at
there's a
least the
link in our
Discord.
description.
Okay. There's some good bi-weekly drawing challenges that have to do with references, as well as a few tutorials that have to do with using references and such. So I highly recommend checking those out. You should be able to find them in the sidebar. It's not. I don't think there's like a clear. Yeah, a thorough. No, that's not what I want. No, that's what I want. Reddit.
I believe in you, Allie.
Boop. And then along the sidebar, there should be something called beginner guides. I'll also just snag that because I'm here looking at it. Burp.
Well, apparently I don't have it in the description. Let me fix that.
I will say you
I
did a really good job on the crazy expression. Those eyes, little pupils. Very nice touch.
definitely came across. I'm not sure whether this is how the hair actually looks because it's been a while since I've looked at her hair, but this is how I tend to do it.
All right. Let's move on to our next one then.
Ooh, good luck. Have fun. Keep drawing.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And don't feel free to hop into our Discord or post some more onto our subreddit. Our subreddit has a soft rule where we really only look to at most one picture a day, but as far as the stream goes, we'll only pick one of those per person per week, just because there's a lot of horse to do.
And it's mostly only for critique. So if you
Yeah.
want to share images for fun, there's like the regular art subreddit for MLP stuff, and also our Discord. Our Discord
Has an art
does
posting
the
channel.
thing.
Just throw art.
Yeah.
Have fun walking the dog. Okay, so our next picture is by Zara, and it's labeled Helltaker Brawny and Judgment Heather. I think that's what it says. Decidedly not horse, but we accept these. Just accept that we're not as good at them.
Were there any questions?
No. And I don't see them here. Normally they're kicking around, hiding in the wings somewhere,
Sneaky
but
sneaks.
don't actively see them. Oh, there.
Oh, sneaky.
They are hiding.
Heads, maybe they say.
All right. Normal question. You have a reference on hand? I caught you. Don't be afraid of them, especially when you're drawing things that you aren't fully comfortable with. Boy howdy, is there a lot of anime references out there. Like, if you go type in anime head, there will be 10,000 different ones you'll find on even just DeviantArt. It'll be like, here's all the different slight deviations on a head. You get to choose whichever one you like the most. You had one for Judgment Heather. How do you somewhat have one?
I think this head just goes a little bit, just a touch, sort of too big for the body.
I think that this one's too big, and then the guy is too small for their body.
I always grab the heads and just shrink them and make it bigger.
Dang you and their selection tools. I got good news for you. You do have a reference standing right inside of you.
Whoa, whoa! Don't spook them! Don't spook them!
If you just sort of stand upright, you can sort of do a bit of measuring out. Crazy, I know. But seriously, using yourself as a reference is great, especially for poses. Likely you have a cell phone with a camera on it. Cool, you get a pose in front of your camera. Can't take a picture of it? Start a video. Just, scroll through that video. It'll be great.
Mm.
Noses are crazy. There's so many ways to draw a nose.
Is
Just
Daz
this
a
weird.
3D program stuff? Because especially for poses, as good as 3D program stuff can be, sometimes basing stuff off humans can be good.
Although humans are smelly and lame. Phuh. Who likes humans?
Especially when you're looking at poses like this. Even if you don't set up the camera phone or whatever and take references of yourself, doing the poses will help you sort of get more of an understanding of how the pose works and all that sort of thing. It's kind of like how when you're drawing expressions, you tend to pull those expressions even if you're not looking at your own face in a mirror to sort of see how it looks.
Your his hair is definitely minimalistic at best. That seems like the easiest one to draw. Is mostly bald people. Hers is looking pretty good. It seems to have a bit of flow, a bit of gravity to it. Um, it's not just magic, which is always good.
I think you could accentuate the edge. Oh, Pixie just erased it. Basically this point here. Don't be afraid to like really accentuate that bump into the hair. Because if it's this flat with only this little a difference, it's almost just like a sheet of paper or like a book being placed upon their head. Have it really come because the hair comes from the scalp, right? So have it really come from the scalp. Don't be afraid to like have those obviously not quite like that, but don't be afraid to have it come from the scalp. It's not going across the scalp, it's coming directly out of the scalp.
I exaggerate those bumps so much, honestly.
Yeah,
I have
it can be a really
characters
great
that just
tool.
have like, that much of an exaggeration.
Yeah, it's always easier to sort of start off fairly exaggerated and then to pull it back into something a bit less exaggerated.
Mm-hmm.
I just did a rough blue line over the pose, kinda, sorta. Pay attention to this line especially, because uh, because of the way that the hips are sort of turned. We're seeing more of this side, and so this side is gonna sort of be cut off like that, and in the same way, this one's gonna be cut off in the same sort of direction. So in general, pretty good. But just keep an eye on references and don't be too scared to look at them and just study them and all that sort of stuff.
Scribble all over them, eat them.
Scribble, lots of scribble. These are the sorts of things that'll also be helped by just looking at pictures of real people and then trying to replicate their poses and that sort of stuff. Because a lot of this is about the minute details of like weight and how the different body parts sort of join together and all that sort of stuff. So the references that you look at don't need to match these poses, but drawing more humans based off real world people in general will sort of increase your understanding of this and let you apply that knowledge to these poses.
I almost want to say, if you haven't in a while, get back to figure drawing because that will always infinitely be good for getting poses and just human anatomy. Figure drawing is, I don't know, to me, I feel like figure drawing is like the key to understanding how to draw humans. Besides all like the detail work where you just like, I don't know, draw muscles for 70 bajillion days straight. But figure drawing's fun. Human anatomy is just hard. It's one of those hard ones,
Mm.
especially depending on how detailed you want to go with it. You stare
Crazy
at them.
humans.
Here,
Being
you
all
just need
crazy.
to isolate yourself so you don't stare at humans so much, so then it'll be easier.
But yeah. I think that might be Len drawing some hands and stuff.
All right, let's go. Whoop,
Yeah.
whoop. All right, we got a page of a comic book, I believe. This is by Bradley Boren, and it's "Hey people, start work on my MLP Mr. MRB comics with donate supportion of MLP Russian Community Group. Work in progress, page 1."
From someone that makes a comic as well, this looks lovely, and I'm so jealous.
Yeah.
We
Looks good.
have seen part of this, yes. We've seen,
I was about to say, looks familiar.
Mm.
just scrolling through to find the original one, or the other one they had. Oh my gosh, they do so many comics.
So
That
much
is
comic.
impressive. Oh wow, that's a lot of scrolling. All right, well, this is going to take me a while if I'm going to try and find this. So, they were asking about the background, or no, sorry, they said the background is mostly a trace with some reference based off of the few images. So let's talk about Celestia here.
Sleepy horse, sleepy horse.
Yeah,
Sleepy
man,
horse.
that wing, so
Mm-hmm.
good.
So this horn angle going off in this sort of way, it doesn't super match sort of the way that she's laying down. So I've just pushed it like a little bit more this way because it'd sort of be facing the character more. If you really wanted to like go for shortening, you could probably even do like something like that. If you wanted to be like it's pointing way towards the camera. With this nostril as well, I'm not sure how you tend to approach the noses. So let's just have a muzzle here. With my ones, eyes, yeah. I tend to have the nostrils sort of being like out in that sort of way. And if I was sort of looking at this nose in particular, I would want to sort of, let me erase that for a sec. I'd want to sort of place these a lot more at the end of the nose, and almost like not even have them as separate lines, just like little tiny bits where the line work gets a bit thicker there.
I would
Because she
almost
is
leave them
looking
off, personally,
so much time. Yeah, that's fine.
just because the amount of angle her head's on.
Yeah, you could absolutely go either way with it.
Man, your hatching is looking just wonderful. I'm looking at your old picture to compare it to, and dang, that is some refinement you've put into that one.
I always love hatching that sort of goes along the contours of the thing.
Mm-hmm.
So much fun. So exciting.
Mm-hmm. This is just a slight suggestion, but I'm trying to add a little bit of difference to the legs. Also, push the legs a little more parallel to the seat itself. Right now, the seat, like the legs are going almost pointed into the seat, like they're angling into it. So it's as if her butt is like floating in the air as the legs are coming down. The legs will really be nice and squished up against the fabric there. And my other suggestion might be to stick the other leg out if you want, just so it's not so crowded. There's a lot happening right here. I mean, honestly, the tail could even be covering up that second leg and you just have it poke out, yeah, right at the end over there. But that gives her a little more of an interesting pose, and it helps her feel more flat against the chair instead of sort of floating above it. And another thing I might suggest is, let me grab a different color. Hard to see. Let me click. Nope. That'll do. So like her leg kind of bounces out there. Boop boop. And as for the hoof, I mean it is a style choice, but it feels a little bit unnatural to have just the pure curve, especially with all the detail you have going on. So, personal suggestion, I might suggest you make it more like a horse's hoof and have it more like a pyramid shape than a circular one. So that way it's just you feed a little more into that. Yeah, it doesn't have to be full pyramid. It can be like a laxed oval or whatever whatever makes you happy. But just having kind of like the cut off cylinder, I think kills the amount of detail you have going on everywhere else and how nice and not necessarily horsey, but just the nice shapes you have going on.
Hmm. It's also a point whenever you're looking at like hooves from these sorts of angles, um, having them be able to sort of express a direction is good.
Mm-hmm.
And because, let me erase this. You have kind of got like a bit of a sense of that in terms of boom and boom. But because there's no difference between the sort of front and the back of the hooves, it doesn't show it off as much as you could. And so that sort of feeds into the pyramid sort of idea. It doesn't need to be anything like crazy, but just like some sort of differentiation between the front and the back of the hoof to sort of show off. And because in real animals and real horses and real people, there's always a little bit of a difference between the way the front and the back of it looks.
Yeah. And if you want, you don't even need to draw like the little pocket in here. You can just kind of like emphasize it via the little shapes of like boom boom. Like doesn't even be that, like it's just a little.
Bit of I don't know.
Like one little line maybe. Like, boop.
To be honest, in general, I like it a lot. This
Mhm,
this whole
mhm.
this whole pose is super fun. I think the main thing with this this area with the pushing this hoof position up and all that sort of stuff. Most of that's sort of just about pushing yourself to explore those sort of more foreshortened, weird angles, kind of sort of thing. Because especially when you're doing comics, the more weird that you can make your camera angles and foreshortened and stuff, you can make everything the more expressive it can be. But you probably know a lot of that already because you probably do a lot of comics, it sounds like.
Good stuff though. Good stuff.
Uh,
All right, shall we move on?
Let's go.
Okay, you just became Mario. All right, our next picture. This is by Shadow Assassin 147. Need a little advice. I barely understand perspectives. I'm not sure if I did it right here. I'm not sure how it turned out. I'd say this is a good try at using a picture that has a lot of forced perspective.
Yeah.
Especially when doing things like this, references. And not doing things like this, references. And everything, references. Don't be afraid of your references. References are going to be a nice saving grace on a picture like this. Because things like trying to figure out proportions on a character that is then going to have stretched proportions because you're doing forced perspective is going to get very weird if you don't have that baseline to start with. Luckily, the show does use a lot of forced perspective and stretching of those proportions, so you can probably actually get an image that will already have the stretched proportions for you. Because Attack on Titan's like that. I would go for the earlier seasons before it dropped its budget a bit. Like season 1 had a lot of good animation. Season 2 had not as good.
I will trust you on that because I did not see it.
Me neither.
Okay.
If you want to look into some resources, I highly recommend. There's this one person that's put out a lot of nice, like, digestible kind of like, I don't, the best thing I can call them is like pamphlets, but they're really nice tutorials that go over a lot of stuff, and they explain proportions and like foreshortening and stuff for humans and posing them into extreme perspectives and stuff really nicely. Their name is Nisio. So Ni sorry, SNSIO. Burp. And you just type in Nisio explains, or if you go to their DeviantArt, it's all on DeviantArt. Type in Nisio explains whatever, and you find their stuff, and they should have like a tutorial section. There's a lot of really great stuff to click through, and there's some really nice ones on perspective and ways that you can figure out how to, build a person in perspective and such like that. So if you can, give that a Google. There's a lot of good info on that area for this.
I watched like 1 or 2 episodes of Attack on Titan. It was not for me.
Well, these are some fun things from Nisio.
I also wrote this down. Doki Drawing. If you're looking for stuff which is sort of rooted in anime and manga sorts of styles and sorts of the ways that art approaches things, that YouTube channel is a pretty good one for referencing and for watching manga artists do their thing and sort of explain how they're doing and what they're doing and all that. Especially with a pose like this, it takes a lot to sort of do a pose like this and have it look correct.
Mm-hmm.
So don't stress too much. But good on you for pushing yourself.
Hell yeah.
Trying new
Absolutely.
stuff.
Shall we go on
I
to
know
our
that
next
when I
horse?
started
Oh,
drawing,
no, go ahead.
I know that when I started drawing, I wouldn't have attempted a pose like this. I would have been too scared.
Oh,
Yeah.
absolutely. I mean, even now.
Yeah.
I might just be finding a way to make it a bit easier on myself. Like, hey, suddenly this arm's not going to be being pulled behind them. They're going to be throwing it forward.
I'll take my good old 3/4 heads.
Yep. All right, our next horse. It's a little bubble butt.
Horse.
This one is
Yay.
by Claire205715 and Derpy Hooves. I think the shading is looking better than my last post here. Smiley face.
I think the shading is looking good. I saw this one on the subreddit. The one of the main things to keep in mind is that parts that touch will usually have the same shading. So the part that sort of stands out to me is this bit right here. This bit will also get some shading.
Yeah.
Maybe a little bit, but like because this plane and that plane are pretty much touching each other, they'll get sort of the same amount of light roughly. But in general, I am liking this shading a fair bit. Looks good.
It's cute patootie.
Yeah.
Very much.
I'll point out.
I would be careful
I'm
of your direction because I am slightly confused. Like some areas feel like there's lighting where there shouldn't be. Like some of these hair areas, I feel like 'cause it's more tucked behind. So from what I can tell, the light's coming from like up above, something like that.
Yeah, it should be around her. Yeah.
Yeah, I think they mentioned it's mostly kind of above them and a little bit in front.
Definitely agree about the tail losing track of that lighting source. Also,
Yeah.
the back wing, like this would still be lit up if the
And I'd even
light's
say
coming from the front.
part of the back leg would catch a little light too. Even if it's coming from the top, there'd still be a little catch.
So one of the things I like to do on my pictures is I like to draw that little arrow that Ellie's done. Like before I get to shading, that arrow's going down and I keep looking back to it, going, hey, does this part get a shadow? Hey, does this part get a shadow? And a few iteration
Yeah.
steps through and it usually comes out pretty okay.
It's really, really difficult to sort of work out, hey, is this stuff being hit by light or is it not? Because like when you're going through that process, you're basically needing to replicate like a 3D rendering engine and decide, okay, how do all of these different parts work in 3D space? How do they relate? And sort of what is getting hit by the light and what's getting obscured and all that sort of stuff. So don't stress out too much if it is a bit difficult to get there.
Mm-hmm.
But I'd probably, for example, it looks like sort of the hair is over top of a lot of this area. So I'd probably just have that like a bit more shaded in there. And I've added like little touches of this slightly lighter color, also slightly blue color, maybe a little bit too blue. But when you're lighting, adding like little bits of like lighter color is like almost as important, I'd say, as adding the actual shading itself. It's almost like this this grey color of Derpy. Think of that as sort of your mid-tone. That is like the middle color, and then you go darker than that, and you go lighter for that. And if you have like all three of these, it'll like just add depth to your picture.
Right. Anyone else got any other points on this lovely horse? No? All right,
Someone's doing
then.
some crazy tail shading and mane shading.
Yeah, someone is updating that. Who's doing that?
The tail shading?
Yep.
Yeah, that was me.
Okay. Is that
That's
just
good.
in response to what Ali was discussing earlier, or do you have other points on that
Well, I don't know. I just kind of did stuff.
one? Sounds good. All right, let's move on to our next source then.
Next source, yay!
This one is by DB. They posted it on our Discord, but said they had to do this thing called sleep.
Whoa,
Not
sleep.
very familiar with it.
Sounds like a lie.
Yeah.
Is that like when you're playing on your PS4 or Switch and you just sort of like become unconscious for a bit and then it's like a nuisance and you wake up and okay, I'll continue playing now.
Yeah, that sounds about it. So let's talk this horse.
You can make the wings big. The wings, as much as the wings rely on magic, the wings need to sort of support the horse in the air and stuff. So you can really beef up the how big they are.
Scootaloo
I
does have
think
those
it's
micro wings.
Scootaloo.
Yeah.
Ah, okay.
Trying to find new keybinds, I found out that there's a way to close your tabs by pressing Control W.
Oh, yeah, that's my shortcut for making a new layer in Clip Studio. So like I I accidentally do that all the time. I feel yeah.
I wanted to try and get my eyedropper on Control, but it didn't accept simply Control, so I tried W with it, and I was like, "Oops, I'm gone now."
Whoops.
DB.
I do wanna say I love these like fetlock floofs. Like, I love this interpretation of a fetlock floof.
Mm-hmm.
The like poke out the end with the little
It's very cute.
spike of fluff. I love it.
They have very much improved. Saw their art while I've seen a few of their pictures over the last few months. Like 3 months ago, basically looking like a brand new artist. This is looking like, a year, maybe two into drawing art. I mean, sometimes I can't even get some of these lines down, and I've been doing this for 12 years now. So damn. Give yourself a
Good
little pat on the
stuff.
back. It looks like you've done a bit of line weight on the leg and rump, but then not really followed it through on some other locations that could really benefit from it. If you're going to do it on like the overlapping leg here, also feel free to carry that through for any of the exterior lines, especially ones that are similar, where it's going to be like, hey, if I'm doing it on the front leg, I should also do it on the other front leg. Just carrying that style through really works well, unless if you're using it to try and differentiate the lines that are overlapping. Because, art be weird.
Yay. With the I thought I was muted for a sec. With the mane and tail, you've gone for this very interesting sort of a look where all of these lines are very clearly defined. I'd almost say harshly defined. I think to match a little bit more sort of the rest of your style, it could be good to sort of focus on simplifying there and thinking about okay, which bits of these lines are necessary, or sorry, which of all of the lines sort of in this area, which ones are the most important, and then starting off drawing those, and then maybe cutting off some of the slightly less important lines.
I to build on that, I also want to say like looking back to your fluff here, like all these little bits and sprigs of fluff, there's some up here. That's really nice because there's not a lot of it, not a lot to it. Sometimes less is more. And you already have this nice less is more language going on with these little fluffs. You could even bring that into like the fluffy chest. Because right now the hair is almost too long on the chest. It's there's a lot going on and I feel like it disconnects and it doesn't make it as soft and fluffy as it could feel. where something like this bump with the little sprigs coming out, that feels so soft, fluffy, and round. Like, that feels really nice. And I think you could translate this language to this language as well. Like, it doesn't need to be those long strands in order to be a big puffy chest. You can do something as simple as what you did for this fetlock up here, and it'll translate to be nice, poofy, and big.
Yeah, it's
So
hard getting the little sprigs to look nice, but these look great. I love them.
Mm-hmm. You have it in you. Like I said, like, these are just my favorite part. I'm eating up these fetlocks because I just love, they just feel so nice.
I would go ahead and change up the front leg a bit just to, because where your other one is done, it's on the front of the chest. We're sort of just like offset on the front of that circle, the chest circle. Holy cow. Let me do a different color. Chest circle. So we got this line through both sides. Those are like the shoulder points. So I'm just moving that leg forward a bit and shortening the first two bones that are on it to about equivalent to the last bone, the last major one. And they got the little hoofy. Just shortening that out just to match what the length is on the other one. Just so they aren't a little awkward. Especially because Philly, unless if this is full grown scoots, they got short legs, even shorter body. There you go. Little horse. Keep it up. Also, don't forget the eye spots. They're so weird, even if you're just drawing them in. Horses without eye spots is just like cataracts in their eyes. It's weird. So anyone else got anything else they'd like to talk about on this horse?
Nope.
This, the hock, I've just made it a little bit less severe in terms of the very definite boom and then boom. I've just you can probably reduce that just a little bit and still have it look pretty good. You're seeing, is this LD's color, the red sort of
Yeah.
stuff? Yeah. I would agree and probably pull that forward a little bit, especially so if you look at this sort of thing, makes a little bit more sense to have it be there to there rather than for this shoulder to sort of be here. Doesn't make quite so much sense. But in terms of the pose and everything, but if you pull that forward, you can sort of show off the belly, and then have this like thigh line sort of tuck up and underneath the belly just a little bit. And what I've also done is because this hoof is here, and I do like this sort of back hoof, the way it looks. Because it's there, if I trace out the shapes, I'd probably sort of end up with something more like this rather than something like that. Because if I follow the original line along, I sort of end up in this kind of an area for where this hoof should be, and it doesn't quite match up. So just a small thing, just tracing lines through. I think you probably would have seen it as I was drawing it, but trace it through and then delete what you don't need is good for stuff like that.
All right. Anyone else got any other horses they'd like critiqued? Any other questions they'd like to ask?
I might have something for the end of the stream since I don't want to be like really part of it. Just want to show off because I don't know.
Let's see your picture because this is the end of the stream. There's no other horse.
All
submit
right,
it
all
to
right.
us. You can even paste it in if you want to be crazy.
Yeah, I'm looking for it.
Oh my gosh. You can't just paste pictures in, that's illegal. Breaking LD's authority.
Oh, that is small.
Whoa.
Wait,
So
I
what
can't.
questions you got?
Wait. Oh, okay.
You're trying to move and resize it.
Oh,
Yeah.
you got to post it on a fresh new layer if you're going to try and drag it around. Unless if you initially paste it without clicking off of it, then you can drag it about.
Hmm.
Wow, it's backwards.
So now,
Is it?
Oh,
it is.
I have it flipped. Sorry, my canvas is
now,
flipped.
yeah.
I have done that
Is-
so many times.
Espace. Noi. I'm
You're
just
gonna
reading
summon
it
a
as-
demon.
You know what? It's even better. You get less spoilers.
If you hit H, just like in Clip Studio, it'll flip. So that's horizontal.
It's fine, don't worry. It's all good.
So now it's the right way around. So I just got it flipped.
Okay.
They won't let you escape this place now, will they? Okay, that's what it says. So what were you wondering about this?
Composition a little bit. The last frame, I'm not sure about like the whole like thing.
Only
Simrel.
I'm sorry.
Any problem-
The demonic laughter of the child.
Sorry.
the only problem I have is it looks like the head should be like, if it'll let me draw properly. Like I don't know. I'm seeing like the face like come up around here and sort of end maybe around here, given where the face is. And it just feels to me like the main cuts into that and makes this part of the head invisible. So like you could always just like increase the shadow, like just enough so that it or just like bring the curve and wave up a little bit, just so that it's not coming close to creating that sort of effect, if that makes sense. Like sometimes if something, you don't have to necessarily completely make something perfect, but if you just push it in a direction where it's not going to be like noticeable anymore, it can that can be enough, you know. I don't know if you
I don't
agree
mind
with
it too
that, or
much
if,
either way.
yeah, or if that's just me and my weird perception. I don't know.
No, I can see it. Honestly, I think that's what was missing with the composition of the last picture. But also, I want feedback on the like face armor, because it's the first time that I do that, and I was stressing out big time when I was drawing.
I
The
was gonna
shading up
say-
here is absolutely lovely. Like, this is all really nice.
Thank you.
I do think I agree with Maze though. Enlarging this, like giving it, I can't draw on it, too high of layer. Anyway, enlarging the size of the elements a bit would definitely help, secure it more in that armor rather than pure pretty armor sort of thing.
Yeah.
It's very
It's interesting when you're coming into like these sorts of armor things, because a lot of it is about just exploring lots of different shapes. Like whenever I'm messing with armor, what I'll do is I'll just like have a face. I'll just draw like a very simple, here's what a face looks like. And then I'll just like duplicate that a million times and then be like, okay, what kinds of shapes do I want? In general, I think it looks pretty good.
I didn't want to take away any of the elements of the original show, so I hope that it doesn't look weird in my style. Because honestly, I would never have thought of putting weird curves on armor the way that they did. And I could have probably made this one a little bit thicker, but I don't know.
I'm always a big fan of like taking a curve that's like that, and then sort of seeing how angular I can make it.
Yeah,
I
that makes
drew it.
sense.
There's an alternate impression on the side. I don't know. Just really make the shape like vague.
Yeah. I think I could have done a better job on the last one, honestly, but it's it's page 2.
Mm-hmm.
It's all learning. It's all messing
Yeah.
about and experimenting.
It's always interesting to see people who start webcomics, right? And some of the people that do like the really consistent like posting ones. And you'll look at their very first comic and then the one they're
Yes.
at like 7 years
yeah.
later, and it's so
Yeah.
cool to see the transformation.
You can see that some like a lot on Webtoon, but like comics in general. Like I remember with like Dash Academy, like the art styles, like they got like a really nice like polished art style. And you look back at like episode one, or like episode one, I think they've re-uploaded with more recently. But like you look at like the really early stuff, like page 2 onwards, and it's like so absolute garbage compared to the newer stuff. And it's like this is just like not even the same artist, and then like they clearly just got so much better. That's why I always have that mindset of like, if you want to do a thing and you want to be good at doing it, like I want to do a webcomic and I want it to be like decent quality, like just start it, just do it, and like over the course of doing it, you're gonna get better.
Yeah, there's this really great video called Finish Not Perfect, and it's just a
Yes.
really great mentality to have sometimes because art's not going to be perfect all the time. So you get the project done. The more you finish, the more mileage you get, and then the
You're
better you
always
get.
gaining experience. It's impossible not to gain experience from doing a thing in art. So like you might as well just like, and there's only, as we said before, there's only so much experience you can gain from one thing. So you might as well just like do the thing, throw it out there. It doesn't matter if it's like the most perfect, amazing thing. Absolutely take chances to be like, well, okay, I do this, but like let me just see if I can like fix a bit of this proportion, or okay, maybe there's like a lot of messiness. I'm just gonna scrap it and redraw it using like what I've learned to like, as a base, and then like just redraw it from scratch. And okay, yeah, that's better. You can absolutely do that, and you can get improvements that way, and it can be very, very, very helpful. But like we see a lot of people here in ES just like drawing the same thing for months, literally months, working on the same picture and constantly coming back and asking for critique, like making tiny, tiny changes over days and days and days. And it's like, and then someone draws something in a day, and they're like, "How did you draw this in a day?" It's like, because I didn't hang myself up on trying to finish something over the course of months. I would have drawn lots of pictures in that space of time, even if I spent a few days on each, and even if they weren't perfect. But by the like, if one person does one picture and they make it like as okay as they can after months of struggling, and one person does like 20 pictures in that time, like that's 20 pictures worth of growth and experience. So it's always valuable just to not get too stuck into things. And I definitely think you've got like a lovely basis for your comic here. You've definitely already got a lot of skills when it comes to the composition developing, and I think after you just continue for a while, it's going to definitely go places. So keep it up.
I won't lie, I lost you in the middle of that. ADD is out of my side today. I have no idea what you said except like the start and the finish.
Oh
Like,
no. Wait, like you just sort of like
That's
zoned out
fine.
because I was
Our
rambling, or because
philosophy,
yeah,
art
okay.
philosophy works out like that,
Yes.
and our stream story.
We'll have the stream recording. So
yeah,
the
at
only
least.
thing, the only thing that sort of trips me up a little tiny bit about this this design of the armor stuff is this very
Yeah,
specific area.
it's
Just
really thin.
it looks like
just
it'd be
because of
uncomfortable.
how flimsy it kind of like feels like it might be. But
It's hard creating those like shapes and making them work to an aesthetic without like it just sort of looking weird, or creating these things where it's like, okay, well now there's like a flimsy bit hanging off. Yeah,
Yeah.
it can be tricky.
to be honest, that might just be because I'm seeing it for the first time, and like after
Maybe
20 pages or 10 pages or whatever of it, it'll look normal. So don't stress too
yeah,
much.
like it might even just be like not chain. Oh, let me color pick and do things. That would be good.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. It might be a case of like just keep like you can keep the shape, but just like just sort of you can
That's
increase it and like
interesting.
change it a little bit just so it feels a little bit less like there. It's sort of like you can, I don't know. Sometimes you can keep, if you like an idea or a shape, you can keep it, but just like change things and move things slightly, and or just like
Iterate on it.
uh, yeah. There's all sorts of different like I imagine it like when you have like a vector shape and you got like the little buttons that you can drag. It's like, oh, this makes the square more rounded, or this makes it more like slanty. But drawing shapes in our mind has like all the little sliders, and we can like change little aspects of it to make it work.
No idea what you're talking about.
No worries. I'm just being silly.
And to be honest, for a first time drawing armor, I'm pretty proud of it because I
Mhm.
have never like I wanted to do more tests before drawing page 2, but I started running out of time, and I wasn't sure if I was going to be able to close on time. Turns out I'm like a couple days early, so that's great. But like,
Yeah, my first time drawing armor wasn't very good. So I get it. It's a tricky thing to come into. It's like how does this work?
I am interested to see how this picture or how this comic evolves.
Yeah.
yeah, honestly, even though I'm the creator, I'm really freaking excited to like just see where it goes and see how much my art style like is gonna evolve towards.
Yes, I can't wait.
That's how you should be. You should be excited about your work.
Yeah.
Mm. You should be excited about growth and about just drawing things, and it's good. A good place to be.
Yeah, the full thing is coming out on the 8th because I was a bit early.
Yeah.
I love
When
just
you're doing like things like armor, it's always a battle between cool shapes and practicability.
Yeah.
Like how practical it is.
Practicality.
Practicality, that's the word.
No problem, buddy.
Words. Yeah.
I'd love to make a webcomic, but like, yeah, trying to think about like I've got to draw like all the stuff before this like deadline, especially if it's like a weekly thing. That's the part that I would like worry about because I'm so slow with like doing anything.
See, my problem is I'm not a writer. I can do ideas, but
Uh-huh.
I could not write for my life.
I have so many like stories in my head that I'm just like constantly daydreaming about that would make really cool stories with a bit of like actual writing put to them.
Give
And I
me
just like I
fan
don't have the effort
fiction.
or time to do them.
Give me fan fiction any day.
There's so many
Writing for
fanfiction
comics
things.
is like always annoying because like I plan really early on. Hey, here's where all the text bubbles are going to be. Here's what the text is going
Right.
to be, and then like once I'm finished or near finished the drawing, I read the text again, and I'm like, this text just reads like the worst thing that's anyone's ever written. I need to replan it all, and it's just like, okay, cool.
I can either be an artist or a writer. I can't be either one because if I start
Hmm.
writing something, I'm gonna take forever and I'm gonna be way too disappointed to make the actual comic. So that's why I got a writer for this one.
From my brief, I have sort of had a bit of experience what Pixie talked about doing my Ask blog. So that's the one thing still haven't updated it in ages, but there's no like deadline, so it's fine. But it's just yeah, that same thing of like where's the text going to go and how to place it and run images and stuff. And it's like, yeah, I guess it's like a combination between like incorporating in your mind like the working the text in as if it was like part of the image and just keeping it in the planning process the whole time, and like writing stuff in advance and like imagining like how it's going to go, like including the speech and not just like the visuals, and then but again it's like an abstract idea and you got to like make that solid, and it all takes like composition planning, I guess. But it's yeah, it's a tricky thing, but it's practice and just reworking stuff and not letting yourself get too deep into it. Yay, finished the beautiful art. Oh shit.
The good thing about planning is that once you're done and you realize you screwed it up, you can always do another round of planning,
Hell yeah.
and all your planning is useless. It's good.
My sketches are horrible when I start. I have like random bubbles are mostly just like not even gonna be there anymore, and then there's like, oh, okay, I have space here, but I'm not gonna actually need that one, but whatever, it's fine. Ah, pony. Okay, cool. Horn, gonna get out of the frame. I don't care. It's just like it's oof.
I feel yeah. I guess it's the kind of thing that just gets more natural over time.
Mm-hmm.
I do a lot of panels where it's like, yeah, I want a panel to be here, but also I want to not cut it at the freaking neck of the pony. So I do the head outside, and I saw that, I noticed that in one of the comics that I'm reading now, and I think it's so lovely, honestly.
Let's take a lot of work.
Yeah.
All right. You got any other questions for us?
No, not really.
Okay. Anyone else have any other art they'd like to share? Any other questions they'd like to ask?
No, I'm just chilling.
Like a villain? Or like Krillin?
Yeah.
Or like a penguin?
Like a penguin. We're close. We're close to the penguins. So that's good. Actually, is Antarctica the one with penguins?
I think
Find out next
Oh,
week
I
on
know.
Dragon Ball Z.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, okay.
MLP, yes.
All right.
How will the ponies draw the next thing?
Well, thank you all for coming, and I guess we'll see you again next week.
I guess so.
See you
Bye-bye.
next week.
yeah.
Bye.
Bye.